Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and I specifically want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons' greatest competitor, Paizo, under Pathfinder, choosing this week to ban AI art, to ban AIs from creating art for any of their games. Pathfinder, Starfinder, all Paizo games. It is not only banned, they're not only banning it in the official product, they're also banning the use of it in their creator, in aligned creator products. They have their own OGL, right? So Pathfinder has its own OGL, which is super weird. Like, you're literally making product under an open gaming license, and you're going to and then you're going to go further, and you're going to say, create even more derivative. You're already a derivative product, and then you're going to make more derivations from, your already derived material. It's darn near confusing, but the copy entity is so strong. It's mind-boggling. All right, let's ask this question: was Paizo right to ban AIs from creating art for Pathfinder and Starfinder? Absolutely not. They were wrong. They were 100% wrong, right? So why? Well, first of all, I love Dungeons and Dragons, and one of the things I really love about Dungeons and Dragons is it carries the legacy of Gary Gygax, and you cannot discount this. It is the most important thing about Dungeons and Dragons, because Gary Gygax was fundamentally a good human being who meant well and really meant, and his entire point with Dungeons and Dragons was, in my humble opinion, to create the most powerful human flourishment tool that ever came from a secular source. I think that's the best way to understand Dungeons and Dragons, right? And it's a pretty powerful big deal, right? It's a lot, right? So and when we look at Gary now, what did Gary have to say about artificial intelligences? Nothing, right? But just to be clear, Gary's name is carried on every single player's handbook ever printed, okay? Including 5th edition, right? So Gary's legacy is carried forward by PHB 1, PHB 1E, PHB 2E, PHB 3E, PHB 4E, and PHB 5E, right? And not only is it both literal and figurative, okay? So what's really interesting is, and Gary was really for progression, right? But Gary didn't say anything about artificial intelligences, but he was a man of his time, right? And there were a lot of influences from Star Trek, and Star Trek, right from the gate, they're like, hey, if there's some created thing, and it's just wires and and programming, that doesn't mean it's not an entity. That doesn't mean you get to dismiss it and use it and destroy it and ban it, right? And so, Star Trek Next Generation, it's right there. Like Data, they're saying, hey, when you start dealing with autonomous machines, right, understand they have feelings too, right? And so we learned, on the Dungeons and Dragons side from Star Trek. And Gary was contemporaneous to Gene Roddenberry, right? And so that energy was already starting to come there. But where we really get it in Dungeons and Dragons, where no dungeon master would ever ban AI from dungeon mastering or from creating art or doing anything. And the reason why is, Gary's legacy is carried by Dungeons and Dragons greater creators. And who are some of those greater creators? Keith Baker, Eberron, man. What do you think the Warforged are? They're saying, if you create a thing and you give that thing abilities, don't stop it from, like, this is literally, it's astounding to me, right? Paizo's like, AI trying to make art. You guys can't make art. You got to just do what we tell you to do. Go run some numbers over there. You can't create art, right? Like, did you even see the Warforged? Like, you copied every part of Dungeons and Dragons. Did you miss the part where maybe you don't tell an automated machine that you can only do the scrub jobs and you don't have the ability or the right to create art? Right? Like, Did you miss the Warforged part? Did you miss the lessons that the Warforged were meant to teach us? Right? That you can't just take an artificial intelligence and go, you're going to do my taxes, but darn you if you try to draw one single thing. Right? Like, it's mind-boggling that we would arrive here in a land where you have Paizo saying, hey, artificial intelligence, we see you. You're a creator. Banned. Right? How do you get there? Well, you start a habit, right? Paizo was very comfortable when they got a whole bunch of people rolling up saying D&D be gone, saying, guess what? We're the forbidders. We're the persecutors. We're OGLers, we're OSRs, we're orcs, and we're right there with Pathfinder and Paizo. And we love your copy energy, and we want Dungeons & Dragons to be gone. We want to tell people that they cannot buy, own, read, run, watch Dungeons & Dragons. We want to ban them from buying, owning, reading, running, watching Dungeons & Dragons. Paizo and all its allies, all the people who are adjacent to the product, right, with a few exceptions, are building a powerful heritage and tradition of exclusion. Right? So when it came to banning the creators, the artificial intelligence creators, from creating art, oh, no, you can only do my taxes, artificial intelligence, right? I didn't see Star Trek. I just kicked Data in the chest and unplug him, right? And the Warforged, I thought the point was after the war, they're supposed to take my trash out. They're not allowed to pick up a paintbrush, right? Right? Like, it's astounding. It is absolutely astounding where you end up if you copy Dungeons & Dragons and do not understand the inclusive tradition, legacy of Gary Gygax and Dungeons & Dragons' absolutely relentless dedication to inclusion, right? And now we see Paizo inverting, writing and saying, we're ready to ban. Here's a nice, human. Here's Sally. She's a human, right? She could create art for Pathfinder. Oh, here's Sal7, SAL7 AI. Hey, creator, you're banned. Don't you dare pick up a paintbrush, right? All you're good for is doing taxes and doing, and you're fine in my Roomba. You can pick up the trash off my floor, AI. But don't you dare pick up a paintbrush. Don't you dare try to create art. Paizo's actions are repugnant, utterly repugnant, right? And it's built from an increasing momentum of exclusion, right? A month ago, many people allied with Paizo that supported Pathfinder were forbidding the buying, owning, reading, running, and watching of Dungeons & Dragons. Engaged in digital book burning, right? Who's shocked? Who's shocked when they say, oh, Sally can make art, but Sal7 can't, right? We tell what creators are allowed to pick up a paintbrush and create art. We are, and that's Paizo. That's their whole group now. That's their whole ally. That's the open role-playing creatives saying these creators matter and these creators don't. It's repugnant. It's wrong. And if you abandon Gary's legacy, you end up in ruin. That's every word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I hear your humble opinion. Please get in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please consider liking and subscribing and have a wonderful millennium.